Is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in 2022 worth it? Is it crispy and fresh and new, or is it a bowl of dog water? Let's talk about it. First of all, welcome back to the channel. Thank you guys so much for coming back. I am going to try to make this video comprehensive, but also concise. I am typically a Tarkov player, as many of you know if you have been following the channel, but there has been enough people messaging me, enough people asking on stream, and from putting in 20 to 30 hours or so on the beta, I definitely think that it's worth giving my opinion to the community instead of responding to every single person separately. And plus, for those of you who are searching the internet for some sort of guidance on whether you should buy this game or not, is it worth the $70? Hopefully I can answer your questions. If you guys want to stop by the stream sometime, we stream Tarkov. We are going to be streaming Modern Warfare. Definitely stop by. We usually stream sometime in the early morning into late afternoon, some evening streams, all that good stuff. It's on Twitch every single day except for some Sundays. I would love to see you guys there. Also, if you guys want to see more content like this, we will be covering more Modern Warfare content. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, and you can always hit the bell if you want to be notified when videos go live. Let's talk about this new Call of Duty. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to break this up into the overall game, and then I'm going to break it up into sections. We're going to talk about audio, we're going to talk about gun balancing, we're going to talk about sound, we're going to talk about all that stuff. But I want you guys to know there's timestamps. I don't want you to be frustrated, feel like you have to watch a 20-minute video. I don't know how long this video is going to be. Watch the whole entire video and not get to the point where you were looking for to see if you wanted to purchase the game. So timestamps down below. So let's go over the very first question. Should you buy Modern Warfare 2? Now, the short answer is yes. I think that even with the cons I'm going to talk about, which are more of concerns than cons, that even after all of those, I think that this game is definitely worth it. Now, there is going to be a couple of you that it will not be worth it, and I'm going to address that. Now, what they have told us is that there is going to be no loadouts in Warzone. I don't know if it's going to be like Fortnite where you can pick up different things and level them, probably not out of a soda machine, but be able to level them in game. We don't know a lot of details on how they're going to actually implement loadouts in Warzone, and they could completely cave, which they've done in the past with other Call of Duties, and say, you know what, the beta, we released it this way. Our anticipation was everyone was going to like it, but guess what? Everyone didn't like it, and I know, usually they don't listen. But there has been times where they have listened and they have completely changed it so that when the game drops, that whatever feature is different. They could do that with Warzone. So they could make it so that we could have loadouts, which would make it beneficial to buy the multiplayer. But right now you're going to have multiplayer. You are going to have campaign. You are going to have the prisoner rescue or hostage mode. You're going to have things like ground war and invasion, which is 20 on 20 players with 20 on 20 AI, which actually isn't too bad. The AI feels pretty good to me. I know a lot of people are saying they're way too hard, and then other people are saying that they're way too easy. People are going to say different things. I felt like it was pretty smooth. Not a whole lot of concern with that game mode. It's not really my style, but for the people who come from Battlefield, and Battlefield 2042 has completely failed them, I think that invasion, I think that ground war will be a really, really dope mode for these people. I played it multiple times. It felt good. It felt smooth. The graphics were crispy. Riding around in a tank, you're moving around in the helicopter, you can walk around in it, snipe from different angles, jump off parachute. Everything felt pretty smooth. I mean, you can jump into the water, use your pistol, fight underwater. That looked really cool. So I am excited for it to jump in with like a community day for the stream or something like that. But like I said, it's not really my style. But for all of the Battlefield mains, I think that you're really, really going to enjoy these couple of game modes. And then you have things like we have search, so they're probably going to have, we have a new third person mode. So for fans of like The Division and Gears of War, I think that you guys might like this. Third person, I'm back and forth on. I really like third person on The Division. I'm typically a first person shooter type of guy, so third person was cool. I thought it looked really good, but at the end of the day, I'm most likely not going to be playing that. I'm going to be playing Warzone probably. I'm going to be playing Hardcore Search and Destroy and a couple other things. If you are a Warzone main, maybe wait, because Warzone's going to be free. If you only want to play it, you're coming from games like Escape from Tarkov, you're coming from games like Hunt Showdown, The Cycle, and you want to try DMZ, maybe wait. It's going to be free. We don't know if there's going to be any type of like tether between the multiplayer and campaign and DMZ. We don't really have any details on that yet. Also, they talked about raids. There's going to be 6 or 8 man or whatever raids that they're going to come out with, similar to like how Destiny does it and World of Warcraft. We have no idea how that's going to play out and if you're going to need the actual game for that. Those, though, you can always wait for and buy the multiplayer later if you end up needing it. But right from the get, from playing the beta a ton, I really think that the actual game mode has a lot to offer. I think that if you are a multiplayer fan, if you like leveling camos, if you like doing challenges, if you like hanging out with the boys and it being a more casual experience than maybe Warzone or DMZ might be, I think it could be really fun. And I think there's going to be a lot of content. I really think that we got a snapshot of the content in the beta, and there's going to be so much more when the game actually drops. I could be wrong, but I don't think that I am. So I would definitely say that the $70, even though it's a little bit more than usual, is worth it. Short answer. Okay, let's get into some of the details though about this game, the pros, the differences, the cons. So really quickly, I'll show you some of the things that we got in the beta. One was quick play, which we played deathmatch and domination. We have ground war. You guys know what ground war is. We have invasion. This is the new one. This is war, a massive and chaotic battle with a mix of players and AI fighting alongside each other and against each team. We have third person mosh pit. This is where you have the TDM, domination, and hardpoint played in third person. We have hardpoint, which you guys know how hardpoint works. Pretty fun, very, very fast paced. We have search and destroy, which is my favorite game mode. And one thing that I was pretty excited about, so if you enjoy search, this is just a little thing. Prisoner rescue. Prisoner rescue is really cool. It gives you a dual point place where you have to either defend the hostage or take the hostage. And I think it can make for some really, really good content and really, really good times having a very strategic, good calmed 6-man playing this, and it probably could be fun other than that, but I can see it being really, really fun with the homies, especially if you're a search and destroy fan. And then we have knockout, which is pretty fun as well. You definitely can be frustrated with the way that some people tend to play this, but you essentially have to eliminate everybody, and then there's a bag that you have to get, and if that one player keeps the bag and by the end of the time and everybody else can't find them or whatever the case is, then they still end up winning because it is eliminate the opposing force or hold the package to win. No respawns, teammates can revive each other. And so that's where things get a little weird, as people can get a little toxic if you're not like reviving them right away, or if you're not prioritizing a revive over like whatever. Anyways, it's fun though. And so these are some of the game modes. Came into this game, I was hopeful, but I didn't want to get my expectations up because I was really, really disappointed with Vanguard. I did not like Vanguard at all. Cold War was okay. I didn't hate it, but I also wasn't impressed by it. Now, Modern Warfare 2019, I did like, but there was also aspects of the game I didn't like, which made me feel like, which ones are in this new one are they going to capitalize on, and am I going to not like it more, or am I going to like it way more? So that's how I kind of came into it, and overall, I feel like the experience of it has been really solid. Like, exceeded my expectations, and like I said, my expectations were like mid, but exceeded them nonetheless. I feel like it's a very, very polished beta. We were able to jump in with the homies. Friends list was working. Frames were high. Game was feeling very crispy, not buggy, not laggy, not clunky. And we're going to talk about the clunkiness in a second here. But it felt very smooth. The way that the game overall looked really good. There's a very ambient sound in this one that I feel like I didn't really experience with the last few Call of Duties. I felt like playing this just felt really polished for a beta, which gives me hope that the game is going to be better. The other thing that I was really impressed by was that they were popping out hot fixes every time something would happen where you're like, oh man, we just got kicked. Or like, for instance, we were getting kicked about every 6 to 8 games or so, randomly together, and it was an issue. They put out a tweet saying, hey, we're going to be fixing these. We were aware of it. We're going to be fixing it. And it was fixed that night. And in the next day, we weren't getting kicked. It just felt really good that some stuff like that was being rolled out really quickly, and it gave me hope. Now, I know the beta is like the honeymoon cycle, and sometimes they want to do good in the beginning stage of Call of Duty. So like Call of Duty's really good in the first 2 months, and then it kind of just trails off, and then they let bugs go for like weeks and months. And I know, but it just made me hopeful, and it made me excited because I felt like maybe they see that for a long time they haven't been listening to the community. Maybe this time they are listening to the community with some of this feedback. The gameplay this time around felt slower, but not in a bad way. Now, when I heard that there's going to be no slide canceling, no head glitching because now bullets come from the barrel instead of where you can see, and no drop shotting, I'm not gonna lie, I was skeptical, I was hesitant, I was wondering, well, what are they doing that is gonna make, like, how is it gonna feel that none of these things that have been in Call of Duty for a long time, I mean, I've been playing Call of Duty since 2003, since the first Call of Duty, since I was a kid, and typically it has felt very, very fast. It is a very arcade style shooter when you break it down to the foundation. And some of these things, sure, we haven't really liked, but we've dealt with and we've mastered, we've used. So to hear that, I was very, very curious how the gameplay is going to be. It feels slower, but it feels slower in a tactical sense, not necessarily a clunky sense. Now, I get it that people are saying that it feels clunky, but I think what they're trying to say is the game weirdly feels like there's a type of inertia that's been implemented into the game, but not like Tarkov, not like Scum, not dramatic, but your character feels like you have weight. Like when you're moving around, you can feel like the weight of your character, and I don't feel like I felt that in Vanguard. I don't feel like I felt that in the last 3 Call of Duties. So like even when you're holding a pistol, there's like the way that your character is either moving or feels. It doesn't feel like just light and very snapshot, like quick shots. It feels like there's some weight to it. And I liked it a lot. I felt like it was very smooth, but it was noticeable. So I'm trying to explain it in the best way possible. That's how I felt like it was. I talked to a lot of my friends. I talked to my community, and many of the people felt the way that I did. And there was obviously some that were like, no, it's too slow. I don't like it. I want to be able to run and like dive around a corner and be able to instantly shoot somebody. I want to be able to slide around in circles around somebody, popping stims over and over. Like they liked some of those mechanics. And then some people didn't, but irrelevant and not to the point. Either way, it still felt heavier and slower, but in my opinion, in a good way. The other thing that I really like, and I think it's because maybe it feels more realistic. I don't think that the game should feel like a game, like a survival based game like Tarkov. I don't think that it should have the type of inertia that Tarkov has, the slow movement that Tarkov has, but this definitely made it feel more realistic. And when you were to run a bigger gun like an LMG, you're not just like all over the place with it. Like there's actual movement penalties for running an LMG. There's movement penalties for running really like the longest M4 barrel on the biggest handguard. It feels completely different. Your character moves different. I mean, I wish I could do a video on just the movement changes on attachments, because that is a whole nother thing. The way your character waddles, runs, goes side to side, like they did a very, very intricate job when it comes to when you change your weapon, there is change to movement. And that felt so different because that's not how Call of Duty is a lot of times. There's a lot of times where you're running around with an LMG and there's no difference with running an LMG or an assault rifle. So people run LMGs because they're like, well, I get 250 rounds here. The only thing I'm suffering from is a reload, and then I'll just use like fast hands or whatever. And I'll just be able to, you know, reload quicker. And so this didn't really have that. There is penalties to running different things like that. And so you're thinking to yourself, if I run a longer barrel, right, and a different handguard, I'm gonna have more damage down range if I'm running an M4, but I'm gonna be clunkier, I'm gonna be heavier, I'm gonna be slower when I'm maneuvering. So you can't just like slide around the map and get those like quick kills while running something that might be OP at range as well. I liked that. What do I think about the sound? The sound, amazing. Absolutely amazing. I was extremely impressed with the sound. Direction. Now I need to be very clear. The sound loudness, the volume of like footsteps is too loud. Now they did minimize it on the second. So after the PS5, they minimized it on the PC version, but it's still too loud. It's way too loud. And the reason why it needs to be lowered is because it definitely encourages more camper gameplay, and it makes flanks extremely hard because all somebody has to do is stay still and they can hear where you're flanking to, right? You're coming around this way, they're waiting for you. You come back around that way, they're waiting for you. They're holding angles, right? They're anchored. That wasn't always how it was. If you get a really good flank, you can come up behind somebody and they're still looking the other way, and it just felt really good. That's not happening in this beta. When you do a flank, you have to almost pre-fire or like quick peek to make sure that they're not waiting for you. And I would say 9 out of 10 times they're waiting for you because the footsteps are so loud, which also makes dead silence so strong. It is really, really OP. Now, you don't have it all the time because it is used as a field upgrade instead of like a perk, but it is really, really strong. And I am still down for it to be strong. I'm still down for the other stuff that's going on. The directional audio is amazing. If I was outside of a building and I was listening on the inside of the building, I can tell if you were on like the east corner of the upstairs bedroom or if you were down below in the kitchen on the west side. Like, it's very, the direction was just amazing. If somebody's running around you, I mean, you totally hear it. So that is the pros and the cons of the sound, but the sound quality was really, really good, besides the one thing about footsteps just being way too loud. Graphics. I really don't have much to say about the graphics other than they were amazing. They're really, I don't know why people are saying that like Modern Warfare 2019 is better than the graphics of this game. I feel like maybe they were playing the game on like medium graphics or like low, because when I had the graphics on high, basically as high as everything could go, it looked amazing. And then when I lowered some of them on medium just to see the difference, it still looked amazing. The way that when you're shooting through the water, when you're shooting if bullets are hitting the pieces in front of you that maybe you're hiding behind a pillar, and the just pieces, the graphics of just like the pieces and debris flying past you, explosions. I mean, everything that I was looking at, it felt way more immersive in my opinion. Way more immersive. When there's an explosion that goes off, there's like dust and like debris slowly falling through the air in your area. Like, it just felt way more immersive than 2019. And the other two, the last three Call of Duties. So in my opinion, it was very crispy. It looked really good. And I think that some people just maybe need to turn their graphics up, because you can even look at side-by-side comparisons that people have done online. There's no shot that people are saying that 2019's graphics are better. These graphics are way better. Different, but way better. They look more realistic. It doesn't look as like clean and arcadey. I don't know how else to explain it. They look more like rugged, real, organic. So yeah, I like them. What about the map design? Now, the map design is really good. I was very impressed with the map design. There's not really any of the maps that I don't like because of the map. There's only a couple of the maps that I don't like because they need to work on some of the spawns. It felt like small to medium, with the medium on the smaller medium size, if that makes sense. So they're compact, but they weren't cluttered, which felt really good. Playing a small map and it not being cluttered. One thing that I couldn't stand in 2019, I was digging some of the map styles that they had, but there was certain areas that just had way too many lines of sight and had way too many people holding angles, where you'd have like, you'd turn a corner and there's 4 different people holding 4 different angles on the same area that you're coming from. And it was just too much. It felt cluttered. It felt chaotic in many situations. And I feel like this felt open. It didn't feel cluttered. And also the verticality. There is a lot of verticality in these smaller maps, and I can only imagine when the maps get bigger. And I loved it. I liked that I actually had to think about if somebody was going to be above me or below me, or, you know, not just in front of me in the typical 3-lane meta. And even the lanes were like open, more open than the lanes usually are. Like, I feel like in buildings in 2019, if there was a certain lane, like the far right lane of the map, if there was buildings on the far right side, they wouldn't be accessible. It would just be something you ran past. Maybe you stand in front of like a porch or something. But a lot of these buildings where I'm like, wow, okay, I can get in that. You can get in almost everything, I feel like. And so that aspect of the game, even if it's not being utilized, the fact that it's there makes it feel so much more open and intuitive. And I didn't feel like, I felt like I was quickly learning the maps. I didn't feel like I was lost, confused, and like, well, that doesn't make sense that it goes there. I didn't feel any of that. I felt like it was intuitive, and I felt like it was really polished. Good job on the map design. This has been a hot topic of discussion, but mini maps. The mini map design is back how 2019 was, and I am kind of shook that they went this route, because there was such a backlash on the fact that if you're shooting a non-suppressed weapon, you were a red dot on the map. In 2019, you weren't, and people hated it. 11 out of 10 people said, why did you do this? This is not what we're used to. We don't like this. We want it back to normal. Well, in this Call of Duty, I don't know if they're going to change it when the full game drops. They went back to it. If you shoot a non-suppressed weapon in this game, you will not show up on the minimap. And the reason why I don't like that is because I feel like it helps campers be allowed and safe to stay where they're at, unless you're really listening to like where the gun sounds are coming from. And I also think that like the Call of Duties, even though they've been very different with some of the mechanics and slight changes to like the foundation of the games, they still have some core values and things that we're used to when we go to play a new Call of Duty. And that is something that has been around in most of the Call of Duties and something that we're all very used to. And I feel like overwhelmingly the community wants it to be where if you're shooting an unsuppressed weapon, which also makes suppressors, and it just makes more things viable in the game, and it also makes more sense why it is the way that it is. So the fact that they're not doing that seems like they're appealing to a more casual audience, which I'm not against. I'm not saying like I'm a hardcore veteran player, but I just feel like most of the community is leaning one way. I really hope that they change it. I hope that when the game fully drops, the minimap is back to the minimap that we're used to and not necessarily the minimap that's there. TTK, another hot topic. Do I think that TTK is good where it's at? Now, listen, I do have a slight bias, and I'm going to explain it. I am now mainly an Escape from Tarkov player, and the TTK is pretty fast. Now, that's kind of like the background I'm coming from. The other background that I'm coming from is when I played Call of Duty competitively, I played hardcore. I played hardcore search and destroy. So I am used to TTK being extremely fast. Not that I always agreed with it being that fast, but I also like other things, like you're not seeing the HUD. It felt more realistic. I have thought for a long time that regular Call of Duty multiplayer game modes, the TTK is just way too slow, dude. Way too slow. Where you're shooting somebody, you know, 7-8 times and you can only get 2 kills out of your 50 round mag. Unless obviously I know there's going to be people in the comments saying, well, if you just shot them in the head multiplier and you're going to kill them faster. I know it rewards being accurate, but still you should be able to shoot somebody in the thorax, not 8 times, and them still die. So those are a couple things that I might have a bias towards. I feel like the TTK, now it is higher, it is faster, but I feel like it's almost perfect. I think that if they were to change anything, maybe change the head multiplier slightly lower, whatever it is. I don't even know what it is, but there is times where you're getting like insta killed and it does feel like you're playing hardcore even though you're not. And it could be like by a stray bullet, it could be by somebody accidentally because of the recoil of their gun. Whatever the case is, there was a couple moments where I'm like, that kind of felt like hardcore. So if anything, I would say maybe lower the head multiplier. But I feel like the TTK is almost perfect. It's a lot higher, but I feel like it's almost perfect. I know that's going to be subjective. I know there's going to be people in the comments hating. That's just my opinion. So take it how you want. Only one of the cons, in my opinion, is the menu. This is the menu. When you move around this menu, it doesn't feel intuitive. It feels clunky. It feels confusing. It's very different. I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of how some of these things, when you click on them up here and when you click on them down here, it's different. I mean, I see what they're doing here. They're making use of like the space. This is pretty cool though. You can use your kill streaks. You can do it by score streaks, or you can do it by kill streaks essentially, or kills or a score. So that's pretty cool. But even like the gun, one thing that I kept doing is I kept selecting my loadout to edit. And whenever you click on the actual gun, which makes sense in my opinion, I want to edit this gun. So I click on it, it resets it and removes everything because you have to hit Gumsmith. Or I'm sure people are going to get fast at clicking R, but if you don't hit that, they remove everything. And it's just like, wait, why does it keep erasing? And sometimes you'll do that before you're going into the game. So the kit that you need, the kit that you just made for what you're doing, all of a sudden is just not there. And you're stuck like, dude, what is going on? So there's definitely some things in this menu that could be different. Now, the actual gun building, even though the guns in this game definitely need balance, things like the MP5, the Scar, pretty much the Lockman, the first one, the 7.62, there are some guns in here that are extremely cracked. The F-TAC Recon that are very, very strong, which I think the F-TAC they actually nerfed in the beta. But there's some things that are just really, really strong. And I'm hoping that they change it, because after you play it for a minute, as you see people's levels increase and more time spent in the game, you're pretty much only playing against MP5s and Scars and the occasional like F-Tac, the occasional like 762 Lockman, and it's just because they're just so strong. So I think they'll change that. The other thing that I want to show you real quick before you go into the gun things is the perk package. The perk package is different. Basically, you have base perks now, which I'm sure that we're not seeing all the perks they would show us for the whole game, but you would basically go in here and, or see, it's just weird. You go to options, you go to edit perks. Instead of just being able to click on this, like I should be able to click on this and just edit it, but I have to go to options, then I have to go to edit perks, and then I can go into here. And when I go into here, I don't click on that, I click on edit. And then all of a sudden you're looking at the ones you have. Anyways, you check 2 of these and then you get bonus perks that I believe are by points. So if you're getting kills and you're racking up points, you're getting objectives and all that stuff, you begin to unlock your 3rd one, and then you unlock your 4th one, which honestly, if you're fragging out, these unlock very quickly. It doesn't take long. It takes a couple minutes maybe to get all 4 of your perks, which makes it pretty strong. And then you get your little basically loadouts for your perks, which I'm not against it. It's a little bit weird at first, but I'm not against it. I think that it's a kind of cool idea, a little innovative idea, and so forth. And then you have your field upgrades over here. You select that. You have 2 right here. You're going to select 1. You select what you want, and then you have your second one, etc. So about the gun building, I am a fan of the gun building. Okay, let me make sure that you guys could see everything on the screen. I am a fan of the gun building, but okay, I hope that it doesn't take away too much of the grind. And I will not be a fan of it if it does, because although people like grinding camos, we like grinding challenges, we like grinding weapons in Call of Duty, sometimes it could get a little repetitive, especially if there's a lot of weapons to unlock the same attachments, the same stuff for different weapons. And it could, especially as a creator, if I'm like, I want to make a video on this weapon, I have to spend hours and hours grinding out the camos, all the attachments and stocks and all the things for the weapon to make that weapon good. Now, the way that it works now is this is kind of how where the Gumsmith is. It's very crisp looking. You have all your parts like this. It changes your screen, how you see them. You see them pop on, you see them pop off. Let me go to one that's like that. And then you're gonna have your customize option, which is your decal, your charm, your stickers. But this is the progression tree. So how it works now, because of having the receivers in the game, the receiver changes, you basically are gonna start with a weapon. And once you level this weapon, and it shows you like what you, how do I do it like this? Once you, there we go. Once you start off, you can see what you unlock at what level. You can see when you get a new receiver. You can see when you go to like the next gun. So like for instance, if I were to unlock the Lockman 762 is what you start at, you can get, oh my gosh, this is just like, I forgot you have to go this way. Okay, I can get the next receiver. Oh my gosh, dude. I can get the next receiver at 13, which is the Lockman 556. You guys are kind of seeing what I'm talking about. And then after that, you get another receiver, and then you get this, which is technically the MP5, the Lockman sub, and then you continue to get them. The reason why I think this is cool, though, the progression tree, is because it forces you to use different weapons that maybe you wouldn't have used before and you would leave completely untouched. The cool thing about this is, if I unlock a hollow sight on my MP5, that same hollow sight I can use on the Lockman 762, right? And then if I unlock something over here, I can use that over here once I unlock this gun. But what it does is it forces you to use these other weapons, because these weapons have attachments that some of the other weapons don't. So if you want it, you have to play all the receiver models in that gun tree and progress through them to get all the attachments. So if you want specific attachments, so there's still a grind, but in my opinion, nowhere near the level of grind that we normally have had in Call of Duty. So this could be a make or break for some people who really like that grind, kind of like an MMORPG game. The other thing about this is I'm pretty sure they streamlined a lot of the XP like they mostly do in betas. So I'm sure that we're leveling up the guns faster, and the guns have lower levels. We're using a multiplier for the XP is what I'm saying. I don't think that when the game drops, we're going to be leveling guns as fast, because you level them really fast. You can have like 2 or 3 good games and your gun's fully leveled, and you've already unlocked more guns. You've unlocked all the attachments for that part of the tree. So I don't think it's going to be that way, or else you're going to unlock everything pretty quickly, and then you're not going to really have nothing left to grind except for play like DMZ and Warzone and some of the other game modes. So for that purpose, I hope that they understand that we do like the grind. We just don't like the tedious, repetitive part of the grind. And so if that's the case, then this could be really good. If it's not the case, then it could be really bad. So to wrap this up with a couple worthy mentions and just weird things. One of those weird things was I have never seen so many people just laying on the ground than in this beta. And I think it's because the dead bodies, they stay on the ground for a really long time. You'll kill somebody and you'll be around the map 2-3 times and you're back in that area and the body's still there. The gun's still there. And what this did was it made people, because there's dead bodies everywhere, kind of just, especially in fast-paced games, right, where people are dying faster, like domination, people will just like lay on the floor, and it's really hard to tell if there's somebody who's alive and laying on the floor or if it's somebody who's dead. So there's a lot of times where I was dying to just like somebody on the floor in the middle of a lane around a bunch of dead bodies. Kind of weird. I hope that they definitely make the bodies disappear quicker or make some sort of change to that, because that was pretty annoying. The other word that he mentions for cons is wrapping up the game is weapon balance needs to happen. It's something that definitely, I'm sure it will. I'm not really stressed about the weapon balance. I think it will, but it needs to happen. The minimap change, I really hope happens. The menu was clunky and confusing. I hope that they definitely make that more intuitive. Possibly eliminating the grind. We just talked about that. I really hope that they didn't. I just hope that they made the grind smarter and not more frustrating, or completely eliminating it. There was definitely some W key nerfs. As a W keyer myself, the game still feels good, but it takes some getting used to for sure. Like one of the things is if you tack sprint before your reload is all the way finished, you end up swinging on somebody and finishing your reload, which is awkward the way that the timing is. You guys will see when you play it. But I don't remember it ever being that way. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but that was something that I noticed where I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Like, this feels weird. Some things are a little bit too slow in that regard. The other thing is the stuns and flashes. The stuns and flashes are way too strong. Way too strong. When you're flashed, dude, you're flashed for like 5 seconds. You can't see anything. And even after you see stuff, it's even hazy for longer. And the stuns, I mean, you might as well just put somebody in quicksand with the way that the stuns are. They're not like you're stunned. They're like you're frozen and you just have to watch somebody kill you if you get hit with the stun. They are really, really powerful. So I hope that they definitely tune those down. Or else it's going to be really frustrating, especially when you're playing things like domination and hardpoint and everyone's running flashes and stuns. It's just like, you just feel like you're not playing. So at the end of all this, if I had to give this game a rating, I would say right now, as is, I think the game is around 7.3 out of 10. I think that with some of the changes we talked about, it could easily be an 8.1 to 8.5 game out of 10, which is really solid, especially because the way that I've rated the last few Call of Duties was not that high at all. So I'm very, very hopeful. Thank you guys so much for coming by and watching this video. I hope it brought you some value. I hope it helped you make a decision on if you want to purchase this game or if you want to wait. But if the video brought you value, make sure you smash the like button. It does go a long way for the channel. Share it with a friend. If you guys want to see more content like this, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and you can always hit the bell if you want to be notified when videos go live. The other thing is stop by the stream. I would love to see you guys by the stream. Jump into the Discord. Our times have been a little weird lately, but we've been streaming kind of like late morning to late afternoon to early evening. We don't stream on Sundays, or at least some Sundays, but other than that, grab some caffeine, come hang out. I think it'll be a good time, and it's going to be a really slow month because I can't wait for this game to come out. I went from being hopeful and sort of like, yeah, I think it could be good, to like, dude, I need more, and I'm addicted. Hope you guys are very blessed. Hope you have an amazing day or night, depending on where you're at in the world. Don't go anywhere. We have more videos for you. Check those out. I will catch you guys on the next one. And as always, happy raids is what I usually say. But for Call of Duty, happy games, my friend.